Hey everybody, tag LifeDoneFree. Hey, I thought I'd shoot out a quick video and cover some of the comments that I've gotten on the videos. And I've said this in previous videos, but I love the comments. I really like reading other people's stories, and I really enjoy the encouragement. And so as we go forward, I'd love to hear more comments. Please, put them down in there. Subscribe, if you like. And I guess until then, let's get right to it. Come on. So let's see here. Under the Illusion of Equity video, Angry Homesteader said, someone I know bought a house in 1997 for $97,000. Got it refinanced every 2 years, except in 2008. This is 2022 and they are almost retired. They owe over $220,000 today. The husband wants to retire but can't because they just refinanced their home. This is a great example of modern day slavery. The easy credit system has enslaved millions. We must resist the temptation to spend money that we haven't made yet. There's always a great offer out there. And if every time you can lower your interest rate just a little bit, all it does is extend the time. And then by extending the time, you're eating up more and more of that profit. I feel bad for these people. And, I wish I could reach out to them and, give them some encouragement. This next comment I actually really liked. It's from Rich S., who said, "Who are you trying to kid? No one can live free. Don't pay your property tax and see how much you own of your house." This is exactly correct. And I've said this in previous videos that I don't think 100% freedom is possible. I do think we can get very, very close. In reference to the taxes, I've read some articles and had some conversations with people, and there is some support on the Hill for a law that would say that once you hit retirement age, that property tax on your home would go away. And I'd love to see something like that continue on. But just because we can't get every single piece, I can't make oil filters for my, machines. There's just some things I just am incapable of making on the homestead. Doesn't mean we can't continue to, close in that box and continue to be a little freer and a little freer. Because at the end of the day, the freer you are, the more options you have. And the more options you have, the more choices you have. And I'm convinced that I can withstand a lot if I have a lot of options and choices on the table. From the Mo interview, JDoc04 said, "I completely agree with Mo about having to make a stand or it will affect everything else in your life. Goes way beyond your job or career." Jay, I love this comment. I felt in my personal life and in my, professional career as it was going along, it really began to lose its value. And I often wondered, what's the point? Why am I going through all of this? Why would we spend 40 years, working at a place so that when it's all said and done, they give us a gold watch and tell us to piss off? We go on Social Security and 5 or 6 years later, we're dead based upon the mortality tables. It just doesn't make sense, and there's got to be more meaning to life. And if what you're doing for a living is just pulling at your soul and you're not accomplishing the things you want to accomplish, you're not living your dream, go make a change. Money isn't everything. Just like, I did a video on the illusion of equity, that we just talked about, and how money's kind of, the land of make-believe a little bit. And, in future videos, I'll continue to post some about, how a dollar travels and how much you really get to keep, when it's all said and done, and how many transactions go on before, the government has all of the money back and those types of things. But thanks for the comment, Jay. Joanne Shed said, "I really enjoy this. I can relate to this story. I had to make the decision to walk away from my job and a steady income, but what they were trying to push on people is a red flag warning for me, and I said no thanks." You know what, Joanne? I wish more people would do this. If more people would take a stand, I think these companies who are doing these things and, these municipalities that are doing these things would have to take a step back and go, wait a second. We're not totally in control. And so, Joanne, I absolutely applaud you, and, I hope that everything's going well for you, and, feel free to reach back out to me. But I love these kinds of stories. Maybe someday we'll get you on the show. Kings Came said somehow that now that the pandemic is over, are being asked to come back. Would you, or would you just flip them off? Well, you know what, Kings Came, I've actually had this happen to me. I've had phone calls back to me asking if I wanted to get back involved at least to some level. And the problem is that, when these things happen, people make changes in their life. And, I made big changes in my life, and I'm not looking forward to going back. For the first time in my life, not the first time, I served some time in the military, and I really felt purpose there. But, I'm really feeling purpose in my life, and I've got a mission, and I'm committed to the mission. And so, no, I won't be going back. Victoria Johnson said, step one, buy dirt, preferably with a good water source. I cannot think of a better investment than to buy land. I come from this world, and there's lots of places out there to make money, et cetera, et cetera. But owning your own land is a pretty cool thing, and it seems to me like prices just continue to go up and continue to go up and continue to go up. And just imagine if you could cash in the equity, because it's certainly not profit, but the equity out of a property, and go buy free and clear, go spend money and buy a piece. I've got a good friend in my life who had a $400,000 house that they owed $200,000 on roughly. And they sold their house, took the $200,000 in equity, bought a little farm on 18 acres, 20 acres, paid $150,000 for it, spent the balance of that equity money, getting the things that they needed, to live this type of life. And so it's absolutely possible. And, maybe we'll do a video on that. On my Standing the Poles video, Granny Lana said, great idea. I'm going to rethink my resources. I think this is another great comment. With the prices of lumber, I was at Home Depot this morning picking up a drill I had being worked on, and walked by, and OSB is $47 a sheet. This is insanity. When I built this place just a couple years ago, a sheet of OSB was $8. I walked back to the insulation because I need a little bit of insulation in my wood shop. And what I was paying $30 for a year ago, it was $57 today. And I think we're going to continue to see this. I've had some deep debates with some of my friends who, homestead also, to talk about, are you better off having your money in assets, or are you better off having your money in paper? And this is an ongoing debate, but again, maybe something we'll do a video on. Gerhard Bratz said, why so high? And this is in reference to, the poles. So why so high? Couldn't you use a chainsaw and cut them to fit? But maybe you want them that tall. Just guessing. Well, actually, I am going to cut them off. I don't cut them off ahead of time because, when you dig a hole, they're all a little bit different in depth. And then also the ground, kind of slopes. So let's say I cut them all to 10 feet. I'd have to be cutting them again. So I put them up tall, and then what I'll do is I'll measure the height I want on one side. I'll run a string line over. I'll mark each one. I'll jump up there in the bucket of my skid loader, and I'll cut them off with a chainsaw once I kind of have it all put together. I do want it to be fairly high, though. I know that turkeys, like to roost up high, and I want to create the absolute best environment I can for them. I think when you're an animal owner, I think that you owe them something. I think that we, owe them a good life. I mean, ultimately, they're going to give their life for the, the betterment of my family, and I owe them that respect, and I owe them, again, a good quality of life. So, great question. On the bee video, what she does every single day, Terry Pacifica said, live free and don't give an inch. Great video, Bee. I particularly found your homesteading buying community interesting. That is absolutely a way out of the matrix. Terry, this is a great point, and I think everybody should be doing this. If you're not reaching out to the other like-minded, whether that be, preppers or homesteaders or whatever it is in your community, and figuring out how you guys can spread your resources in a way that benefits everybody, I think you're kind of missing the boat. We just recently put in an order for several things in our buyers group, and just kind of, I'll go real brief into this, and maybe again we'll do a video, but it's really just a matter of, getting an LLC, and a lot of people already have them, getting a distributor or a dealer's agreement with, company A, B, C, and D, and then putting in big orders from enough homesteads to meet, their requirements. This way you're getting stuff bought a whole lot cheaper. And there's a lot of ways to go about doing this. And I would absolutely encourage you to build a community. To me, there's only so many hours in the day. I got to sleep. There's a lot of things to tend to. And so banding up with the community, I think, is critical to the success of any homestead prepping group or whatever it is. Terry, I think this would also be another really good topic for a video, and thanks for sending this over. Sleepless in the Carolinas said, great idea buying solar panels in bulk. Can you provide more detail on how to accomplish this in future videos? Yeah, just like what I said to Terry's comment, you just got to get together and get enough buying power that companies would be attractive to sell to you guys at wholesale or a cheaper price. And again, this might be a really good future video. Victoria Johnson said, your coop is amazing. Can you do a slower video so I can really check it out? You guys did a great job. What would you do differently? What works great? Learning before I get chickens, as I have never had them. Well, Victoria, the good news is chickens are the easiest animal there is in the world to manage. They'll eat anything. They pretty much mind their own business. They pretty much stay out, at least out of my way, to do it. So to answer your questions, what would you do differently? Well, there's a couple of things. So the first thing is when I built the coop, before the chickens were even in it, I laid linoleum down on the floor and I glued it, down on the floor, but the edges have kind of pulled up. I didn't get it down real good. So, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to put new linoleum in. And so, you can get linoleum at, pretty much any department store, and you can get them in remnant pieces. So they're pretty inexpensive. I like the linoleum because you can wash it off. It, sheds water, etc. So that's one thing I would do different. A couple other things. So my chicken door, I have two main doors in the chicken coop. One's a big door that you can open up like a man-sized door. And then the other one's a small chicken door. It runs on a pulley. You can walk in, hit the pulley, and the door will pop open. Chickens can go out. But I didn't make it big enough because we currently have turkeys in there too. It's kind of made it where that door is useless because I got to go all the way into the coop to open the big door anyway. The next thing you asked, what works great? Well, a couple things that I really like. So I built a side door on it that's long and short. And I did that so that I could pull, whether it be the skid loader or a wheelbarrow or whatever it is, right up to the side of the coop so that when we're cleaning it, it makes it a lot easier. And so I like that a lot. The other thing that works great is on the inside. If you remember looking at the ceiling, there's some angle supports that run from about 5 foot down up into the peak. And then I put some horizontals up there, and all the chickens roost way up top up there. I really, really like this, and this idea actually came from a buddy of mine named Hitch, which I'm going to have on the show here at some point. But he said, by having those roosts way up there, it makes it much easier to clean out the coop. And so I really like how that worked out as well. And then finally on the bee video, Crazy Days said, Bee has got it going on, tag, get back to work. I joke all the time in my videos about my wife being on vacation and lollygagging and, all of these things, because to me it's just funny and I think I irritate her. But, if you're not irritating each other a little bit, life gets kind of boring. But the truth is I have an amazing wife who works really, really hard, and she puts her family first, and she's very selfless. And so to Crazy Days, Bee does have it going on, and I do need to get back to work. Let me see here. On the pond video, Deborah Jones said, what an awesome pond. Love the zero entry type area for the little ones to enjoy the water. What a treasure to have all those rocks too. Yeah, those rocks were quite the story. When they dug the core trench down, they get the pond kind of dug out, and then they dig a big trench to get through all the rock and to get through all of things so that the pond don't leak. And so this trench was a bulldozer blade wide and 15 feet deep, and we pulled a ton of rocks out of there. I spent a lot of money doing that, but at the same time, I got to keep all those rocks, and I'll use every one of them, and we'll eventually, use them all through landscaping, and et cetera. And so they were an absolute treasure. The zero entry type area was important to me, and I don't know, how everybody else, feels about this, but I just simply love kids. I really look forward to the day when my grandkids are out there swimming, and I'm an old man drinking a cup of coffee on my deck, and I can watch it, and as my kids, as families grow and these kind of things, then, Grandpa's house turns into this, playland. And I can't think of a better thing and a better thing to leave behind and a better thing that gives me purpose. And so I don't know how many of you guys have seen, pictures of the house. If you look on the back of my house, I have a slide that goes down my deck for the kids. And, so I'm always into building stuff like that. And I'm going to build them a tree house one of these days. But yeah, so that's why I did the zero entry. I want to make sure the kids had plenty of places to play. On the Finding Land video, Sweet Savory Words said also check out your neighbors. Are they close enough to help? Would you want their help? I think these are good words. When we talked about doing a threat analysis and needs analysis and how you kind of hone into an area, that same analysis works for small areas. You could say, hey, I want to live in, Brown County, Mississippi, and I don't know if there's a Brown County, but you can just take that county and do that same assessment. And I think part of that assessment is to understand your neighbors. I've spent a lot of time over these last 4 years getting to know all my neighbors, understanding, where they stand on things, understanding what they, need help with, what resources they bring to the table. And I try to be good to everybody around me because, in the end, as life continues to get hard and the supply chain issues continue to get hard and inflation continue to get hard, we're going to need each other more and more. And this also helps you build a community, because, for example, I've got a neighbor who is a big cattle rancher and, I don't raise cattle. And so it's nice to be able to get a beef every year and things like that. So, but that's great advice, Sweet Savory Words. I put Sweet Savory Words on here twice because there's another comment I liked that says, are you far enough west to wind up in a drought if the elkhorn dries up? If you remember, in the analysis, we ended up in Cumming County, Nebraska, and there's a river that runs into that. And I think the drought's an important thing. I think the weather's been changing. I think I've mentioned this in some of the interviews that I've done. I think Tornado Alley's moved, and it sure seems to me like the weather and the climate has changed. And, we can debate why it's changed, but I think it's hard to debate that there hasn't been some changes. So I think, considering drought and considering those things is super, super smart. On the solar tour video, Champagne Reed said, thank you for this and including the cost. I need to know what I'm getting into with solar and don't know if I should trust the ads I see. So getting someone's firsthand experience with it is way better. Champagne, I didn't know hardly anything about solar when I started this project. And, I had to do a lot of reading and, a lot of understanding. I have basic electronic skills, but this was a whole nother world. And I'm still learning. I'm still trying to grow the system. What I can tell you is I saved a ton of money on labor by putting it in myself, but not everybody's going to be geared up to that, and you're dealing with high voltages, and those kind of things. So I'd really encourage somebody, if you don't feel comfortable, to get help. But at the same time, back to the community, if you do enough networking and you get involved in these, homesteading gatherings and these prepper outings and camp outs and all of these things, you meet people. I have a friend of mine who lives a couple hours away, who that's what he does for a living. And so anytime I got myself into a snag or I got myself where I had a question, I just reached out and made a phone call, and he was happy to help me along the way. So community, community, community. And then finally, Stevie Jean said, can't wait for more videos and hope the wife shares some of her beekeeping. Going to get bees next year, and I'm not ready to jump back in after my first attempt failed. Laugh out loud. We're here from Deep South Homestead. Stevie, learning the bees has been a journey for us. We've been at it about 4 years now, and our first year we had some failures too. And in fact, really every year, because the winter time comes in, it seems like we always have this 1 week, that gets to minus 20 and minus 30, and it gets super cold. And if the inside of that hive sweats, and they start to freeze, you can really have some trouble. And we've tried different types of hives, and we've settled in on one we like a lot. We've tried blankets for the hives. We've tried a lot of those things, but I think bees are one of those things that you'll never stop learning on. There's a joke that kind of goes around the bee community that if you have a question, ask 10 different beekeepers and you'll get 13 different answers, because it is a journey. I go over and help sometimes with just picking up the heavy boxes that are full of honey and some of those labor type things, and it's just fascinating to me how they hold hands and how they take care of their dead and all of these things. But anyway, my wife will absolutely do some beekeeping videos, and as the weather's changing here over these next few weeks, I would imagine we're going to have to get into the hives and do an inspection and do some treatments for mites and some of those things. So I can assure you, Stevie, that there are videos to come. Hey, so as you can see, I'm in different clothes. I actually pulled this video down after it was scheduled to go out because of a comment, and so I'm going to insert one comment here because I think it's just that important of a comment. On my Mandates Everywhere video where we talked to Grumpy Acres, a Kate came in and she had 2 comments. The first one was looking for my tribe and how to connect. And I replied to her in the chat, building a community video is a great idea. She then, about an hour later, came back in and said, you have not left behind your corporate mentality. You have not helped anyone. You are selfish and obsessed with money. So because I've never helped anyone and because I'm obsessed with money, because spending my time here makes me a whole bunch of money, I decided that I'm going to go ahead and post a video in the coming days. We're going to call it Kate's video, and I'm going to help her with how to build a community. So I'll take my time, my energy, and I'll reach out and I'll help you, Kate. And thank you for the encouragement. So that's all the ones I have on here for today. I think reading the comments are super important to me. I love hearing everybody's ideas. I would encourage you to make all the comments you can. I like them a lot. They keep me going. They keep me motivated. Your guys' stories keep me motivated. And so I guess till next time, I'm Tag, and this is Life Done Free. Hold the line. Don't give an inch. Tag out.